Hello, James here, and we're off to the Fully Charged live show. We're setting off from Okayama here, and we are heading over to Tokyo, which is 650 kilometers away. Actually, we're actually in Livingston, which is outside Edinburgh, and we're going to Milton Keynes, and it's 373 miles away. The reason why I was talking about Japan is because I had a chat with Nissan Customer Support, and they said the car is running as intended. Are they talking about the national speed limit in Japan? And the national speed limit in Japan is 80 to 100 kilometers an hour. So we are today going to be traveling at 49 to 62 miles per hour on the motorway. I'm going to stick to 62. If there's roadworks, I'm going to hit down to 49, and anything in between. I'll try not to go slower than the lorries and the trucks. If one comes up behind me, I'll speed up to 62, because that means I'll be doing approximately 59 miles an hour, which is a little bit faster than they would do. So that's the game plan for today. We're going to hit the road, and I'll explain how I'm going to try and keep the car cool.
You might not be able to reach destination. Proceed to the highlighted route.
Right, so I'm going to be punching in all the stops along the way. So I put in the Swan Centre in Berwick, then we're off to Chesterley Street, Washington
Proceed
Services.
to the highlighted route.
Then we're off to Wetherby, Troll Services, and then Milton Keynes. They're all about 70 miles apart. I'm going to try and stay on target this time. Obviously the last time I was distracted by chatting to people. This time I might have to be a little bit rude and tell them that I've got a master plan going on. I'm sure they'll understand. So I'm going to head off now and reset everything. So I'm going to reset my trip. Trip A, trip B, trip A, drive computer. So everything's reset to 0. So we're going to head off now, and we'll see how this little run goes. The weather on this journey today is anywhere between 12 to 18 degrees centigrade, and so it's quite a warm day. And also we've actually got another benefit. Obviously the first leg of my journey I've got headwind, and even with the headwind I'm actually now up to 4.6 miles per kilowatt hour. Now that we're heading south, I've actually got roughly about 10 mile an hour tailwind all day, all the way down to Milton Keynes. So that might play a bit of a factor to all this. This is fairly typical sort of day in the UK. So we'll just have to put it down to good luck that I've got a bit of a tailwind. Right, so it looks like here in Japan we've hit some roadworks doing 34 miles an hour. We have the pace car in front of us blowing some reddish dirt in my windscreen. I've got the air on recycle for the time being. Hopefully we won't be behind this for too long. So we're at 54% on the battery. I'm just going to power down, and I'm going to set my timer for just 3 minutes. So I'm just going to sit here for 3 minutes while I talk about this sheet. So on this checklist I've got a wait time, yeah, and this is for the battery to cool down. So we're at 23.2 degrees. I found that the temperature is low like this. It doesn't make much difference to the temperature going down as much as when it is at a higher temperature. So this part is mainly for later on in the drive, but I might as well do it now, seeing it's part of the plan, and then you guys can see the difference on Leaf Spy. So it's 11:19 and I'm starting the charge. I've set my timer for 30 minutes. While that's counting down, we'll go through the notes that I've got here. and why I'm doing it this way. If we look here, from 20 to 80%, you get 60% charge, because a large chunk of that gets up to the point where it starts slowing down after 63% on the actual battery gauge. But that takes 40 minutes and you get 60%, but the temperature generally seems to go up to about 14-15 degrees when you're at like a ambient temperature, what we are now. The reason I have went for start charging at 40% is from 40 to 90 we can get 50% charge, and that's 39 minutes. It's 10% less than if we do it the other way, but we only generate about 8 degrees of temperature, or at least that's what we hope to achieve here. I'm expecting to get to about 31 degrees once we finish charging, and we should be able to reach 90 to 95% in this sort of time. I think we'll probably hit 95% before we would even hit the timer limit of 45 minutes. So that's why I set it to 30 for now. We'll just let this charge and we'll get back to the car once it's done. So it's 11:36, that's roughly about 17 minutes, and we're up to 80% now, and the temperature is 30.4, so it's actually lower than what I was expecting it to be, because I was quoting, what was I quoting, 8 degrees centigrade? We had a slightly higher state of charge. Right, so it's 11:48, which is almost 30 minutes, and we are up to 90%, so I think it's time to go. The temperature is at 31 degrees and the charge rate has dropped down to 13 kilowatts. Right, so I'm going to unplug now. I'm at 91%, so that's a good charge that we got there. Get my Charge Played Scotland card again. It's time to go. Now that I've unplugged, I just remembered this is why I've got a flight check plan. The checklist is saying we wait another 3 minutes. This might feel a bit weird waiting around, but it's a bit like cooking. You know, like when you put your Sunday roast on and then you take it out of the oven and then you have to let it rest. This is kind of what we're doing. Obviously, with this low-ish temperature, it helps a bit, but not as much as when the temperature's high. Just because we have, you know, a lukewarm bit of battery lump sitting down below. If we set off now with the battery heated up from the charge point, then we will end up producing even more heat, and it doesn't give time for the temperature rise to dissipate. So this is all we're doing, we're just letting the temperature dissipate a little bit. Right, so that's our 3 minutes up, and to check on the temperature, it's at 30.6 degrees. So it's not dropped down by much, by 0.4, maybe 0.5 if we left it off, but well, I think we're going to head off now to our next location down at Washington Services by Newcastle. So we're at Newcastle now and we're heading towards Washington Services. We have clocked 136.2 miles, 4.5 miles per kilowatt hour. We're down to 52% and the battery temperature is 31.2 degrees centigrade. We're slowing down. This is a 50 zone, so I've actually set the speedometer to 49. So this will imitate going at 80 kilometers an hour in Japan. Might as well look at the battery temperature. So the battery gauge here, if people that don't have Leaf Spy will have to use the force to figure out what the temperature is. We know from the gauge here that halfway is 26 degrees. So I'm expecting to be able to charge at full rate on this next charge point. And also the fact that we're up by 50, we're still at 50%. I think we should get the same sort of charge temperature as last time. So we should only hopefully gain an extra 8 degrees centigrade. charging checklist, yeah? So we're going to wait 3 minutes this time, screenshot, start charging, another screenshot with the kilowatts, because I keep on forgetting stuff like that. Hence why I've got this original plan for the Death Star. Right, so that's the timer up. So let's fire the car up, check the temperature. So it's dropped down to 31 degrees, so it's dropped down by 0.4, which is pretty much similar to what it was previously. I've just done another screen grab, it's dropped to 30.9, so it's like half a degree centigrade it's dropped by. So we're going to turn this off and we're going to start charging the car up. Right, so we've started charging and that's a good sign, it's going up. 38 kilowatts. I am going to set the timer for 30 minutes. Right, I'm going to go head off and do some stuff, maybe like stuff my face. So after the timer's up, I'll be back in time and we'll see where we are then. Oh, it's up to 39 kilowatts. Right, so there's not much happening here. I need to cross the bridge to go to Burger King, so I thought, sod that, it's only 30 minutes. It's not enough time to cross over and all the hassle. So what I thought I'll do instead is, Officer James here, I need to go and take some pictures of this charge point. Right, looks like our 30 minutes is up. Temperature before was 31 or 30.9. It's about 8 degrees centigrade again that we've gained. Right, so this time I'm going to stop the charge and I'm going to let the battery rest for 5 minutes. So we're going to let the battery cool down for that little bit longer, so hopefully that will dissipate the heat. I'm going to go and stop this charge now. Currently at 92%, because by the time you fumble around with the Ecotricity app and trying to get it to shut off, it ends up spending a little bit more time. Right, so that was 5 minutes up. So after 3 minutes it dropped to 38.5, and after 5 minutes it dropped down to 0.4. So there's not that much in it if you stay any longer. The heat's probably dissipated and sort of like spread itself out evenly. So now that we have the roast dinner nice and evenly spread across this lithium ion battery, we are going to head off now. Oh, it's just dropped down 38.2, so it does help if you stay a wee bit longer, but we're not. So let's head off to the next point. I want to talk about the battery. Previously when we went down to Nottingham, I kind of messed up because I charged a state of charge much higher than I should have done, and it was at 39.6 degrees centigrade when I got to Standington. So this time round we were at 38.1, and when we got to Wetherby Station at the end of the charge we were close to 49 degrees, I think it was. I don't think we'll get anywhere near that because I'm going to try and reduce the temperature down for this part of the journey a little bit. I'm going to try and stay roughly between 55 and 58 miles an hour. The other thing to bear in mind is when we went down to Nottingham, the battery temperature started off at 12 degrees centigrade. So this time round we're at 17. That is 5 degrees difference. So if we minus 5 degrees from all the figures that we've got, we're actually doing pretty well in comparison. But from the roadworks to here, the temperature's not moved because it's still at 37.7 degrees centigrade. So I think the car has found its equilibrium at 62 miles an hour or 60, and the temperature being 37 degrees, it doesn't seem to be creeping up anymore. So it seems to be this is the sort of sweet spot. So what would be interesting is to find out what the charge rate is. I think it's going to be about 28, 29, and if we're lucky 30, but the battery shouldn't actually, the temperature shouldn't actually be as high as 8 8 degrees centigrade like we were in the last two charge. I think also this part of the UK is very flat, so that kind of helps. So we're sort of like past the hills of Scotland. Right, we're going to charge up and I'm going to get some food in a bit, and then we'll come back once we get to the charging point. I'll still have to keep to my charging checklist before I rush off and forget about things. We're coming off Wetherby Moto, which is quite fitting because it sounds Japanese with the theme that we're going with for today. I am absolutely starving, but I'm going to try and stay on target, go off the checklist and charge up for half an hour and see what we get at this slower rate. So we've lost quite a lot of heat from the traffic from before because we had to slow down to about 55 or 55 miles an hour on the speedometer. So let's head in here, set a plan. Shall I do 5 minutes? Maybe I should. Right, I'm going to wait 5 minutes. I'll do a 3-minute check and a 5-minute check on the temperature, and then basically I'll need to get some food because I need to charge up as well. Right, so let's have 5 minutes. We are at 37 degrees bang on. So let's see what we pull, because I've not actually got 37 degrees on my chart here. That should be interesting. Right, turn this off. I'll need my phone to set this one off. I don't know why I keep on picking this up. Ecotricity. Show the kilowatts. So we're pulling 32 kilowatts at 37 degrees, so that's still quite good. I think that's a fairly decent speed still. Right, I'm going to pack up my camera gear and I'm going to go for food. I'm hoping the temperature is only going to go up 6 degrees, so we should hopefully be under 42 degrees centigrade. Right, we got about 3 minutes left. I was stuffing my face at Chow's. They do like katsu curry, which is absolutely amazing. And they even got this, seeing that we're keeping the Japanese theme of the onigiri rice ball. They've got one of these. Last time I had one of these was in Hong Kong. That was pretty lush. This one's a salmon one. We're going to munch on that when we're on the road. Also, I've got my lightsaber here because it's starting to rain. The BBC weather's got it completely wrong. They said it was going to be 18, 19 degrees. 16 is a bit wet. Right, we're going to check on the car. We're at 89% charge and we're pulling 22 kilowatts. So we're pretty much where we were previously on the last service station. So half an hour isn't really much time, is it? I managed to scoff my face. I didn't even have time to go to the loo. Right, so we're logging onto Leaf Spy and it is saying we're at 42.7 degrees centigrade. So what we're going to do is when the alarm goes off, because we're at 90% now, when the alarm goes off in a few minutes, we will stop the charge and we're going to wait here for 5 minutes. Should I do the 10-minute thing to show you guys? I don't think we really need to. Maybe I will. We'll see how I feel. So after 10 minutes, we're at 42.6 degrees, and then after 3 minutes it went to 42.1, and then after 5 minutes it went to 42, and it is currently at 41.5. So it went down quite a bit, so we've lost about 1.1 degrees centigrade altogether. So that's not too bad, I suppose. Right, we're going to head off now to our next point. What I'd like to do is try and keep this temperature gauge roughly about the same spot. Maybe go one notch up, but not to the red line. I want to avoid getting to the red line if possible. I'll set Pro Pilot to 20 miles an hour and see if I can keep that at a constant. Any acceleration or deceleration will heat up the battery. But at this point I don't think it really matters because it's hot enough that at 62 miles an hour it's not going to generate more heat than the actual battery itself. So I'm expecting the temperature to drop. I don't really need another charge because the gasometer says I can do 166 miles on what I've got, and the final destination, Milton Keynes, is 158 miles. If we go back and have a look, we've travelled on the road for about 5 hours, and then we've had 1.5 hour, or just over actually an hour. We'll add an extra 20 minutes because of the 3 minute, 5 minutes and the 10 minute stops that we did. So you know, that's like less than 2 hours of stopping time. So we're about 2.5 miles out from Trowell, and this is actually outside Nottingham. We've travelled 296 miles, and I'm actually getting really tired. I'm starting to doze off. So either I'll need a nap for 30 minutes when we start charging, or I need a very, very strong coffee. The temperature is at 40 degrees, believe it or not. This is all 60-70 zone anyway, so, and it's been really busy. But we've been averaging throughout this whole trip so far 45 miles an hour, and we've basically done 6.5 hours of driving, which isn't too bad. So I think we should be able to reach our final destination by 7.5, possibly 8 hours. Right, so that's really nice of that guy to move his car for us. We seem to be in a funny angle due to this other ENV 200. 28 kilowatts at 39 degrees centigrade. So 39 degrees and it's saying 29 kilowatts, which is roughly what we're getting at the moment. Or 28 kilowatts, sorry, at 39. So we're pulling what is on this bit of paper. All's looking well. I don't know what's going to happen. Well, it says I'll reach 75% in 23 minutes, so we'll see what happens with the rest of the 7 minutes that we get. If we can get it to 85%, that would be absolutely amazing. This is my 4th stop, and this would be the 3rd time I need to go to the toilet. You'd think I've been drinking too much liquid or something, wouldn't you? Right, so that's my 30-minute alarm going off. We are at 84%, which is actually quite good. I think we should be able to head off. Okay, so I was just chatting to the nice lady. She's actually off to the Fully Charged live show as well, with her son and nephew, I think it is. So might actually bump into them later on. Right, in my excitement to chat, I forgot to take a screen grab, didn't I? Well, that is booting up. I will set the clock for the 5-minute break to cool the battery down. Right, that's set. So we're at 45.9 degrees. I am going to wait here for 5 minutes for the battery to cool down. Right, I'm going to say goodbye and not be rude. Oh dear, I think I've got one less subscriber. I think I scared him. So we're past the 300-mile mark now. The temperature gauge is still underneath the 46 degrees centigrade bar before we hit one more notch, before we hit the red bar. So it's a good sign because we're at 45.1 degrees at the moment. Right, it's 50 zone, so let's slow down. This is Japan, isn't it? So we're still in Japan, yeah? This is our make-believe Japan. Let's drop this to 49 miles an hour. So we are doing 80 kilometers an hour on the highway or freeway or motorway. I don't know what they call it in Japan, but let's call it the motorway. So we've done 300 miles now. I think I can get another 70, and then we're probably going to be hitting rock bottom of the charging speed. But with the slower charge next time, I think we might get to the point where we can charge for, say, 40 minutes to 45 minutes to get back up to 90%, and then basically head off. And I think we will end up in that loop at that point, where it's a constant loop of 40 minutes and 70 miles. I could be wrong. We'll find out when we get to Milton Keynes and do our final charge. Other than that, it's been pretty pleasant. The thing is, like, 30 minutes isn't enough time to do anything. I felt really rude running, basically splash and dash after chatting to that nice lady and the gentleman in the Zoe. This trip today kind of proves that the car is built as intended. Maybe not for the UK, definitely not for Germany on the Autobahn, but it is built to sort of like specifications for the Japanese roads. If I had to, would I do this kind of journey again? Definitely, because I think I figured it out. I figured out how to do at least 370 miles. So if I can push it for... And the thing is, I actually started at 17 degrees. So if I managed to have the car at 12 degrees in line with the ambient temperature, and the only reason it wasn't because I've been using the car all week and had the car up to about 23 degrees the night before, and it just didn't have time to cool down in line with the ambient temperature. So if I lost that 5 degrees centigrade, we'll only be at 39 at the moment roughly, wouldn't we? So I'd still be able to do another 2-3 chargings. Obviously, if you were in a hot climate and your car was outside, then possibly, most likely, you're not going to get the sort of range that I will today. But at least we know it is possible to do a long distance in a Leaf in this sort of temperate climate of the United Kingdom stroke Japan. So going back to when we were at Nottingham, before we started charging, we were at 39.5 degrees centigrade, and the previous time, or the previous trip, when I got to Nottingham, we were at 45.7 when we got to the car park. So that's like almost 6 degrees difference. And I went a little bit further this time as well, by reaching almost 300 miles. So I think this sort of like charge and hopping every 70 miles and using the taper of the charging speed to your advantage to keep the battery that bit cooler, you can actually get the car to go further than what most people expect. You just have to let go of your feelings and trust yourself and believe that the car can cover that distance. So we're only 37 miles away from Milton Keynes, and it's really the mecca for electric charge points. There's probably more charge points there than there is petrol pumps. So you have Edinburgh, and the council there are probably thinking, we got budget for 6 charge points. We'll put 3 in the centre, and you got 3 on the outskirts, yeah? And make sure it's near one of our, council locations, like the refuge dump. So he hands a lad like 6 pins, and he's like daintily putting them on this big map of Edinburgh and saying, let's go around the ring road here. That's a hard day's work for me, putting those 6 pins down to tell them where they should put those charge points. So at Milton Keynes, the councilman probably thought, right, we got a massive budget. We got like about 50 charge points from Jadamos to CCS to tons of Type 2. So I'm not going to place all these around on this map here. So he probably passed it to the junior lad and said, right son, I want you to cover Milton Keynes and make sure you don't leave any gaps in between, and make sure it's all nice and neat. And the kid probably thought, what am I going to do with this? He's thinking, yeah, right, as if I'm going to be taking my time doing this, I'm going down the pub at 5 o'clock. He probably just about threw it up in the air, see where it lands. Yeah, job done. Either way, Edinburgh needs to catch up. I mean, it's the capital of Scotland. It needs to catch up with its infrastructure of electric charge points. So some people might say that I've been very lucky with the tailwind that I've had, and also with the temperature only being roughly around 16 degrees because of the rain cooling the temperature down a bit. But in my experience, there's no such thing as luck. It's 5,500 miles of motorway driving on the Nissan Leaf 2.0 that has given me the insight of how the battery functions and how to adapt to it. So, you know, if I wanted to go to London now, I think I can. I think I can just keep on going. And if I didn't need to sleep, I reckon I could just go through the Channel Tunnel and head to France and then head to Switzerland. I've heard some guy in the Zoe 22. Is it 22 Zoes? I don't know much about Zoes, but some guy called Craig on a Zoe made it all the way there. So I mean, if he can do it in that, obviously with all my newfound knowledge, I'm sure I'll be able to do it in the Leaf 40. Right, looks like we've made it to Milton Keynes. There's probably just as many roundabouts as there is charge points. So we're actually down to 41.5 degrees centigrade at the moment. So according to my chart, we should be charging between 28 to 27 kilowatts. Well, I had to go over there and press the start button. This count in percent doesn't mean anything apart from it's going to time out when it gets to 100%. Now that is just daft. 27 kilowatts, so we're pretty much bang on. And the temperature bar's dropped down 1 notch again, so that's not too bad. So I'm just going to finish off this video now. The charge is almost finished. We're at 72%. I don't think it's going to go higher than that. I should have charged up to, charged for 40 minutes at the last stop, just to get it up to 90%, and basically have to do the same here. I think we are ending up in the cycle that I was talking about. The temperature is 47 degrees at the moment. It'll probably go a little bit higher than that when it finishes. I think overall, if I stayed on target with what I was trying to do, or knew about charging to 40 minutes instead of 30 at the last stop, I think we could probably just keep on going. I don't see why we couldn't. But obviously I need some rest, and the car needs a rest as well, I presume. I am off to Fully Charged Live tomorrow, and if you guys are there, well actually there's no point saying hello because this video is going to be out later, isn't it? But anyway, hope you enjoy the show, and tune in for the next video, which will be about the Fully Charged Live event. Probably just me messing around down there, causing havoc. So once again, I like to say thank you for watching, and if you like this video, hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll see you guys next time.